Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Garage. It is Monday, March 8th, 2026. Sunday. Not Monday, Sunday. That's right. Different night, same me, same dry humor, same commentary, but we're doing it on Sunday night. And I think this is going to be different, mainly because I've been doing it on Monday nights for so long that it's even odd for me to be out of my garage on a Sunday night. Now, if I were doing, working on something, like if I needed to do work on my own vehicles or something like that, that I try to take care of on the weekends, I would be out here doing that right now. But I'm doing the live stream. And so it's just a little bit different. But you all know the drill. I do these live streams. I try to help people with their projects, and I encourage everybody to be involved. I usually have a group that follows me on these live streams, and I'm hoping most of you, obviously, have already shown up. But I'm also hoping we develop more people into this live stream. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because YouTube recommended that I move to Sundays. They felt like I would get more people involved. And another reason I want to do this is for people who live across the country. So I do this. It's normally on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, which is 4 o'clock out in California. And so there's a lot of people out that way who they're still at work, or they're commuting and they're not able to get home in time to be on the live stream. So the goal is to get more people involved and help people who are in different parts or different time zones. So, as I've said before, this chat is about classic cars. I try to talk about cars made between 1955 and roughly 1980. That's my bracket of the most knowledge that I have. But for the most part, I talk about Mustangs. Now, if you're new to my channel, I encourage you or new to the live stream, I encourage you to start watching my videos that I post. And I also post videos on Patreon. And I have people that follow me on Patreon, and I want to thank them for supporting me and continuing to be part of this. So as we go through this tonight, and we're going to, develop this, I always talk about what's going on in the garage or the current project and stuff like that. And if you have a question or you have a subject matter idea that you want to talk about, by all means, bring it up, and we will see what we can do about that. So this past week, I've been working on, of course, the '68 Mustang Fastback, and you see it's not in the frame behind me. I still have the engine over here hanging on the air hoist, and there's multiple things that have to take place for all of this to come together. And I'm learning as I go. I pointed out that I can build. I'm comfortable building just about anything. I don't have any reservations like whether I can do it. I've never had that kind of conflict. The problem I run into is the variables. Like I need to learn more about the process. So with that in mind, as I'm doing this build of the '68 Fastback and putting in the Coyote engine, I'm learning as I go. What works, what doesn't, what fits, what doesn't fit. Trying to coordinate parts and pieces that are never or were never intended to be in this car. So if you think about it, the Mustangs 65, well, on up to 70, let's say, um, they were really designed to have a small block engine. So 289, 302, and later on, 65 and 6 had the small blocks, and then 67 and 8 they started to make them a little bigger to handle like a 390 and stuff like that. And then of course, as we know, they put in a 428 and 429 Boss and stuff like that. So the dimensions are limited, and that's why that car doesn't have any shock towers. You would you could, but it's unlikely you would ever want to put a Coyote engine in with those old shock towers, especially in early cars. So there has to be modifications made for that. Now, along with that, as you move into the vehicle and start putting things together, the transmission won't fit because the tunnel isn't big enough. You deal with the brake system, master cylinder, air conditioning, as I've dealt with in the last video, and there's just multiple things that have to take place. So I'm learning as I go. And I pointed out on a Patreon video that I'm taking notes, right? So what I want to do is develop my own version or my own hit list of things that I feel like will need to be addressed and what I'm going to do to make that happen. So there's lots of people that show you this stuff. They say, "Oh, we're going to put in this engine," and they put it in, but they never tell you that this didn't work and this didn't work and this didn't work. And as you know, that's not how I operate. I try to show the details and problems and how I resolve them in just about all of my videos. I want everybody to have a good understanding of what it takes to do these sort of things. And so I feel like people get misled. Like they think that they saw it on TV or maybe some other videos and they say, yeah, just do this, do that, and you're done. That's not always the case. And that's, again, why I'm taking notes and I'm trying to make sure I cover all the bases because I want everything to be right because I'm going to have to take this back apart for paint and all the other things. So that's why I'm trying to keep track of all the stuff that I'm doing. I am experimenting a little bit. I have ordered, we'd ordered a different master cylinder, and I'm on the fence yet whether I'm still going to use that master cylinder. I've ordered something else, and I'm going to try it to see if it works. And I have reasons for doing that. There's always a reason behind what I'm trying to do, and I'll probably talk about that in a future video. Just to let you know, there's also things that are going to have to be dealt with that we probably haven't considered. Um, this configuration uses the original configuration in 2017 truck had its own control, computer. It had the wiring connects the engine and the transmission together. In this case, we're putting in a Holley system. So what that means is the computer that came on that engine isn't part of that anymore. It's going to be operated by the Holley system. The problem now is the transmission can't be operated by the Holley system. It's not part of that. So you have to take some more steps. And I'm researching that. Probably going to have to come with its own control module, control unit for the transmission, independent of the Holley system. So these are things that don't get openly discussed, or maybe they do, and I've not seen it yet. So it's just there's layer after layer of things that have to happen. So there's going to be some more stuff going on as I progress through this build, and I want to thank you all for being here and being watching and leaving comments and thumbs up and all that stuff. It all helps. So I'm going to see who's here tonight, and we're going to try to see how tonight goes and work our way through the list. So first one in tonight is Dave Tyson, and Dave says, "Good evening, all." Whoops, wait. Evening, Dave. And Dave frequently posts on my comments on my Facebook pages or page posts. So thank you for that, Dave. Terry Keithley, good evening. Good Sunday night, everyone. Please hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly, Terry and Betty and the cats. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I know you're dealing with a lot right now, so glad you're here. George Crackle, hello again from Southeast Michigan. Hoping everyone is safe. Yeah, I think it was Michigan that had the big tornado come through. Yeah, that was scary. I understand some people lost their lives in that, from my understanding. So, it's hard to deal with Mother Nature. There's nowhere to hide really when it comes down to a tornado if you don't already have a storm shelter or something in place. So, yeah, hope everybody, for the most part, is safe. Let's see. Hey, Matco Man. Hello, everyone. Super nice day here in Maryland. Got the welder dialed in and did a little work on Strutter 66 fastback. That's awesome. Yeah, we've had rain off and on the last couple days, and it's It's disappointing because there was a local antique show that happens basically twice a year, not too far from us. And so they do like an antique show at this farm down the road, and they have all kinds of stuff show up. But it has rained off and on through the weekend, and I know it just ruined that whole event. We didn't even get a chance to go down and see it, but currently it's like 68 degrees here, and so anyway, there's the weather to deal with as well. Um, so I got noticed that there is a transmission controller. That's good to know. I'll have to I'll have to look through some more boxes and make sure that I find that. I was a little concerned with that, because without without knowing whether the Holly system would do that or not, and I had to take the harness off, I was concerned. So thank you for letting me know that there is a controller, and I will go through that. So very good. That's good to know. Okay. Shout out to the owner. I'll just have to go through some more boxes and make sure it's there. I'm sure it's there. Steve Reed, hello Barry and everyone. Hope everyone's doing great, and give Barry a thumbs up. Yes, thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. This bell is a little dysfunctional today. Yeah. Rick Gain, this is going to throw off my rhythm the whole week, being on a different night, but that's okay. Everybody hit the thumbs up button and let's enjoy some good car talk. Let's try to do that. Yes, it is an off night, but that's okay. Maybe some more people show up. Dave Conville, good evening. Good evening, Dave. Welcome. David, the bowler hat guy. Hello, all. Good evening, Barry. Beautiful day in Virginia today, 75 degrees. Open up all the windows to get a nice breeze in the house. Awesome. It's like 68 right now here. I did manage to get my walk in today between rain showers, but yeah, no complaints about the temperatures right now. Richard, good evening, Barry. It was finally around 60 degrees on Long Island today. Yeah, baby. That sounds nice. 60 degrees that in New York. That's good. Rick, we got 70 in New Jersey here. Didn't even go outside, though. Had too much stuff to do indoors at Mom's house. Well, take care of Mom, that's for sure. Rick, as far as which night to do the chat, I wouldn't mind doing the live stream every night of the week. I would participate. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, I don't think I can pull that off. I have a lot of other stuff that I do throughout the week as well, so that would be a challenge. Mr. Mikey, good evening from rainy South Texas. Been a while for rain here, 67. Coop guy. Well, glad you're here, Mr. Mikey. And Jiggy, evening all. Got a question already. I wrestled with the firewall for an hour or so without getting it to slip between the floor and floor supports. Is there a trick to wrestling it into place? There shouldn't be. And Jiggy has bought a new floor pan. He had a project that he had problems with. I went to his house, looked it over, and we realized the car he had was bent. Like it was not worth building. So he started over. Now the floor pan or the firewall, it shouldn't take much for it to slide underneath because it only has to go under like 3/4 of an inch. That should be it. Just tuck underneath and shouldn't be a big problem. Without seeing it, I can't say for sure, but good question. But I've never had an issue with the floor pan just slipping underneath like that. Vincent, evening everyone. Almost forgot about our meeting tonight. The weather here is finally turning into warmer weather. Now comes frost, heaves, and mud. Yee. You can keep that too. No, thank you. Glad you're here. George McFly, hey everyone, made it a little earlier this time. Well, glad you're here, George. Tom Anziano, happy Sunday. I was able to get my firewall in place, but did not have the rear inner aprons in. I used a rubber mallet, ratchet strap in the e-brake cable hole and a whole bunch of curse words. Well, I get it. I get it. It's a lot easier when you don't have anything else around, like the cowl and the sides of the car. A lot easier to fit that in. Roger Kicklighter. Hello, Barry. Just checking in. Glad you're here, Roger. And Dave Tyson, does Ford make a standalone computer for the Trans? Not that I know of. And that was, again, that was some of the things I was thinking about. Um, what works and what doesn't. So um, I've been looking on. I looked online, and I'm going to go through the other boxes because there was a lot of boxes here. So I'm going to go through the other boxes and find that controller because it's not very big. It's a pretty small unit, but I will find it. And like I was saying, there's a lot of boxes that arrived, and I didn't go through every one of them. So I have to kind of weed through them and make sure what's here. But I have not seen one that Ford makes specifically. So Robert being front of Craftsman, hey guys, and mom's taking care of her and spending time here. Do that. That's another thing I'm probably going to end up doing sometime later this month. I think maybe the end of the month, maybe the beginning of April. I'll be making another trip to see my mom and see how she's getting along. She's doing okay, but I need to go visit with her. Probably within the next month. So always take care of your mom. Tom, Barry, I followed the whole Slither series, and at the point myself of cleaning the undercarriage as you did, are you not a fan of media blasting to perform that task? Oh, no, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. If you can get it done, do it. The problem I run into is I didn't have anybody who was, at the time, mobile. I didn't know anybody who had a mobile blaster. And I've tried to do some blasting with the like a small blaster that I have, the pressure pot thing. And no, I don't want to do it myself. If I would have liked to have taken the car, rolled it outside on the rotisserie, and just have somebody go at it. So yeah, you can do that. And that's a good idea. Also know that you're going to get a lot of media everywhere. So just keep that in mind as well. But it's not a bad idea. 427 US Shift makes awesome transmission controller. I set up a 470W to paddle shift in a 66 using a quick 4. Okay. Awesome. That's good to know. Richard, where do you get your MIG welding wire from? Actually, I just buy it from Harbor Freight. I don't know. I mean, I wait till it's on sale. They do a discount of some sort. That's just the easiest place for me to get it. I get the 11-pound, spool, roll, whatever. And I think the last time I got it, it was like, I don't know if it was $29 or if it was $19. I think I might have had a $10 discount on it, but I just get it from Harbor Freight. That's a good question. I feel like I'm losing my voice already. I haven't even started. George, I'm looking for exhaust recommendations for a 66 6-cylinder. Are headers worth the effort, or should a guy stick with the stock manifold? That's a tough question to answer because I don't know enough about the 6 cylinders to know if there's much of a benefit for the header system. I know that in some cases you can get a set of headers that actually split, so you can have dual exhaust on it if you wanted to. But 6 cylinders always kind of have an odd sound whenever you do that. But I think for the most part, a 6-cylinder header is one piece. It's debatable. Like, I don't know how much, if you've done any performance mods to that engine to help it breathe better, I don't know. So that comes into play as well. Is it something that's going to add to any mods that you've made to give it more power? Just a consideration. But I really don't. I really don't see much, in my opinion, much value to it. But that's a good question. Autodynamics says way, Barry. Okay. Eating your curds and whey. 427, not worth the money in a six-cylinder unless you're wanting it louder or something. Well, or if he's done some sort of mods to it to improve it. Richard, I'm always at Harbor Freight. It's like going to a candy shop. I never leave empty-handed. Yeah, I know. I have a hard time not filling up my cart with stuff there. Autodynamics, hey Barry, where are you leaning with the brake situation? The shorter the master cylinder you have, the shorter master cylinder you have is the correct bore for the calipers you have. Yes. Yeah, I've actually, I talked with, um, it was, I think it was Willwood directly because we had a concern about the master cylinder that came with the kit from TCI. The bore was bigger. And so after talking with Willwood directly, they recommended the bore that I got, which is the 15/16 size bore. Now, what I'm considering is the idea. Let me give you a bell first. Good question. What I'm thinking about is um, the potential for pedal power. So with a manual system, you have to rely on your leg to make the pressure, right? So I think the stock setup with the brake pedal is, I think, 6-1 is the ratio, and that's okay. That's fine. But I'm thinking that maybe something more along a ratio of 7-1, because if it's going to be raced, you want to have braking power, and so the I'm looking at a dual master cylinder setup, maybe to see if it's going to work. The reason for that is the pedal setup from Willwood with a twin master cylinder is a 7-1 ratio, and you can also tweak that, not the ratio, but tweak the master cylinders from inside the car. So there's a lot more I'm looking into with that. It may or may not work. It may or may not work. I'm going to look at it, and if it doesn't work, we'll go back to the standard newer master cylinder that we picked up and do some modifications for that. But there's always things to think down the road. How it's going to be used and what the potential is. So that's kind of where I'm at right now on the process. Rick says, giving up on my 03 Silverado, too far gone, in the market for rust-free 04 S10 extended cab. If anyone has any leads, please let me know. Okay. Well, that's disappointing. You have to give up on that. But I know you get plenty of rust in that area. George McFly says, thanks. Okay. I guess that was with the header question. Okay. And 427, I'll support using a header on a six-cylinder if we're going to front mount a turbo off of it. Well, that you never know. You never know. I think back to let me get a sip of coffee here because my throat's a little rough. When I was a teenager, and the one of the cars that I worked on was a 70 coupe, six-cylinder, three-speed manual. That was really the first Mustang that I rebuilt when I was like 15. It was wrecked, and I put it back together. And it had the six-cylinder in it. And I remember that car had a header on it. And it really didn't make much difference that I could think of. In fact, I think, now that I really think back on it, I changed the head out too. So here's a picture of my 72 Chevy truck that I had up at the junkyard. And then behind it is the 70 coupe that I rebuilt, but I put a 69 front clip on it. I wanted the 4 headlights. So I put a 69 clip on it. But now that I think about it, I think there was a problem with the cylinder head, and I put a different one on it. But regardless, it had a header on it, and I think it was just a single outlet. And I played around. I drove that car around. Never actually got it on the road, um, but um, it was a fun little car. It was a fun little car. I've passively looked for one of those for a while, a factory 6-cylinder with a three speed manual, just because I thought it'd be kind of fun, but probably never find one or never have time to do one. Otto, do you know where he picked up the Cody from? Any reason why he went vintage air front runner, powered by the hour, also has a power steering front runner also? Um, I guess it was from a salvage yard type of situation is where that came from. And um, I guess the vintage air was the the system of choice. With that front runner system, you can keep the alternator on the uh, driver's side. And I've seen those other systems where you can put it, they turn the alternator around. And I mean, it works, I guess, but I don't really like that one. I think the vintage air, I like the way the brackets are and how that incorporates the power steering pump. So um, I think that's going to work fine. Stang 95 Bang. Okay. Hey, Barry, now I just emailed you pics of my trunk tail panel fitment. The passenger side seems high, and I'm not sure what to do. I've done all adjustments, and you can see the front gap. Um, Let me see what I don't see any pictures coming through. Give it a second. Okay, so this is from Real Nautical. Um, so I'm going to try to download these pictures, see if I can um, use them. Give me a second. It takes the computer a minute to do this stuff. Um, one more. It's chugging along. It's chugging along. Okay. So you're saying that it's not sitting correctly. So let me see if I can get this to pull in. And this is how I do it. When I'm on a fly, I can't just look at it and go, "Wow, this is gonna just show up and be good." So let me pull your comment down um, and see if this picture pops up. Well, that's your deck lid. So let me see what was the question. Oh, okay. So the passenger side seems high. Trunk tail panel fitment. Okay. Yeah, that picture doesn't really help me then. Let me try another one. See if I can't get this other one to pull in. These it does get tricky with some of the stuff. I've run into problems, maybe not exactly like what you're doing, but you're saying it's fitting crooked, and that's so hard to assess. I think I see what you're saying there. That it's sitting a little like the tail panel sitting high on the driver's side. Is that what I'm seeing? Give me a second. Um, yeah, I'm not. I probably can't really. I'm gonna have to look at that separately because it's really hard to assess that as I'm sitting here because the picture I have is really small on my screen. But I'll look at that separately and try to get back with you on that. Autodynamic, are you running the Holly or control pack from Ford? It's a Holly, the whole Holly setup. Yeah, I'll be covering more of that later, but it's all Holly. Chris Greenaway, know this a car chat? Notice a car chat, but man, glad the de-icing has happened for cruise nights and fishing trips. Okay, well, glad you're here, Chris. Haven't seen you in a while. I know you're up in the Great White North. I know it's real nautical fishing now. If you remember previous talks, I don't have quarters on, and along with getting the doors lined up, I'd like to get the trunk lined up as well. The trunk is rusty, but it's an original for alignment. Okay, like I said, I'll look at those pictures because it's really hard to look on here and kind of give you a good assessment. Vincent, Barry, see you have a sandblast cabinet from Harbor Freight. What's your opinion on it? Don't see you using it a lot. Um, it's okay. It's okay. That blast cabinet, um, I've gone in there and like Robert helped me actually add some lights to it because the light quit working inside of that thing. Um, I think I've changed. There was something else that I modified. I know that I've sealed it up better, but I do use it. The only complaint I really have is it's too dark in there. Like even adding some lights, you really need better lighting to help with that. And also, since it's a vacuum system, so it pulls media up through a tube and then comes out through the air nozzle. It'll clog up, or it won't. The hose will kink. Those are probably my major complaints about that. I've had the hose rupture off of it, like the clamp slips and the thing came off, and so um, that's probably the biggest complaint is that hose thing. Now, I also in the past I did not have a vacuum system on it, and so you'd get dust and media all over the place coming through the seams, and I would wear a respirator while I was using it. So I did start using the vacuum on it, and that made it a whole lot better. It helped clean out a lot of the stuff inside, and keep the media down so you could see better. But lighting is my biggest complaint, and secondly, the hose wants to kink. So that's part two of that. Now, granted, it's a cheap blaster. It's not like some high dollar one where it has an external, cavity that stores the media and it cycles through, and it is what it is. It works. Um, I'd rather have like a $1,000 unit, but I can't justify it. So I do use it, just not frequently. So good question. Rick says, Robert, wishing you all the best with your mom. Hope everything works out as best as I can. I'll say a prayer for her. There you go. Thank you, Rick. 427, I've seen six-cylinder Fords and 292 GM make good power. I remember years ago there was a 292 six-cylinder Camaro that made almost 400 horsepower, naturally aspirated. It was in a Super Chevy magazine in early 2000s. Yeah, I mean, those things, they'll run. They will definitely run. Not your typical build, but yeah, they will run. Rick Stevenson, sorry I'm late, but I'm here now. Well, that's good, Rick. I'm glad you're here, and I'm going to get another sip of coffee. So, Stang, George McFly says, twist the deck lid. And that's a possibility, but we have to figure out what else is going on. Like, it's hard to say a lot of times if these cars are straight to start with. So when you start putting pieces together and you realize this is off or that's off, is it, is it the car, or is it something I put on, or, is there some problem with the panel? So the factory deck lids, you have a really hard time twisting those because they're spot welded, and they don't move like the aftermarket. The aftermarket ones you can twist and manipulate, but those the factory ones are really hard to manipulate. Jerry, howdy, Barry, howdy, y'all. Welcome to Sundays at work, so can't stay. Have a good chat. Thank you. Glad you checked in. Um, So there's a lot. There's, as I was saying, with with the 68 build, there's a lot going on, and discovery is part of the process. Um, there's little things that you have to account for, um, that I'll be addressing all this as we go down the road. But like even as simple as the heater hose fittings that come out of the intake or top of the engine, there's multiple connections on this particular truck engine where it had like fittings on oil filter, you know, heat exchanger, and then there's another set that there's like one up on the passenger side, a tube. On a driver's side, it has a tube with a T, and so it's like they had all this circulation. And what I found was the truck engines have this. I've shown it in the video. They have this inner, let's say, heat exchanger. So what it does is it acts as a warmer for the transmission fluid. Now, the conflict is you don't use all that stuff. Like if you do this, you take all that out of there because it's not part of the part of the system anymore. And so I've discovered that they sell little billet tubes now that you put in place of those tubes on top of the engine. There's also an adapter for the water neck because you can't connect the radiator hose to that upper quick connect. It's a slip-on connection that they use whenever they're putting these things together. It's a quick connect, and you can't connect a hose to that. It's like part of another thing. So there's like a billet piece you put on that adapts to that. So it's just, again, these little moments of discovery as you go through this. It's like, oh, I need to do this, or this needs to happen. So it's all part of that process. But I'm figuring it out, and I'm learning as I go. And there's a lot of input from, people have talked about Mustangs to Fear, Power by the Hour, and I've actually had help from other people that follow me on Facebook and stuff like that, who've pointed out that, hey, you need to make sure you do this and do that. So, and it's good to know. It's good to have input. Like I said, even doing this right now allows us to have these conversations and talk about these things, whether it's this car or other people's cars. And so, like, people on Facebook, I'll post something and they'll say, "Oh, you could do this or could do that." And so I really do appreciate the feedback that I get from this stuff. Julian, Jimmy Joe Elliott had a 54 Corvette 6-cylinder called Apricot Brandy, held national records for a while. Interesting. Thank you for that, Julian. Rick says, what's the history on the Cody engine in Fangled? Salvage yard? Was it from a wrecked truck? Just wondering. Yeah, it's a salvage engine. So I'm assuming the truck was wrecked. That's about all I know. And it doesn't look like there was any damage to it. Everything looks like it's fine. So that's my understanding, though. Yeah, it's definitely, it's a used engine. So it's hard to say what the truck was. Who knows? Any of these things at the junkyards. But yeah, it's a salvage engine. So as I'm continuing to move through the process here, and I've talked about the the transmission cross member, that I'm removing that, getting it out of the factory one, because we aren't gaining anything by having that in there. That's going to help a little bit with some of the clearance issues around the transmission, and it may help with figuring out something to do with the exhaust. There's also some ideas that I've been playing with that I'm not committed yet, but I'm thinking about the flow of the exhaust, because we already know that more than likely the exhaust will end up underneath the car, but there's still a chance we could put it up around the opening where the TCI system is. So there's a drive shaft hoop in there that I've shown in videos, and ideally I would like to run the exhaust inside of that location, inside the training tunnel. And so I've been looking at that a little more, and I discovered that Um, Revology makes they're like their own version of this TCI system. Like I think they either have TCI make it, or they take a TCI system and modify it. And I know that there's like TCI doesn't like it whenever I'm pointing out, hey, I'm going to do this or change that. They don't like that. But as I'm looking at this, um, what TCI does, or what Revology, oops, sorry, I gave myself a bell there. What Revology does, and I'm trying to, if I can make an example here. So you have the uh, the main connectors that come forward. It's kind of hard to describe, but there's an elbow that comes up, and then that cross shaft sits above that, kind of like that dimension. And what Revology does is they modify that front tube and they bring it down so it's in front of this main shaft. And I've actually had a few people with me looking at it, and what it does is what Revology does, instead of having that straight shaft with the plates on the side, they angle it down and bring it underneath, basically. Still does the same function, but it just changes the opening. Now, we have the MagnaFlow exhaust, and that big crossover piece, it won't fit in there. And I don't feel like it's going to work underneath either, because the clearance on the car is only like that much space, and that exhaust is 3 inches thick. So if you go under all that stuff anyway, you're going to end up with a few inches, a couple, 2-3 inches of clearance for that whole exhaust to sit underneath there. And the more I look at it, the more I'm thinking, well, if we do, make some other modifications, then it may help with making the exhaust, not the same exhaust, but a new exhaust or new pipes, independent pipes, run down that tunnel, basically beside and underneath the drive shaft. And that's typically what they do anyway. Even if you look at any other cars, they'll run that exhaust. They want to run it inside the tunnel, because then it comes back and there's humps in the floor for the exhaust, the muffler to sit. And so it'll come back there and then work its way out. Now, I've shown it in other videos that with what we have and the TCI setup and all that, the MagnaFlow exhaust really isn't going to work well together. It's just the way it is. So I'm still playing with ideas. I'm still coming up with thoughts and ways to modify things. But I kind of like the way they did that Revology thing, and I think I could probably modify what's there without getting a new pipe. So it's just, again, some things to think about. Um, let's see, I've talked about that and the master cylinder situation. We're trying to work our way through that, and like these little the fittings and things that are going to have to be incorporated. Um, and then another thing we'll have to look at is a radiator. So, um, when you use these, like the 68 car has the inlets for the radiator both on the passenger side, top and bottom. And I ran into this some with Jade. If you remember, I look back when I put that, I put in an aluminum radiator that was from Alloy Works, and it had, one they sent me had necks on opposite sides. So the passenger side had the upper water neck and the driver's side had the lower. And so when I was putting that in Jade, I realized I could not use it the way that it was intended with the original car. And that's when I took the water pump and I put a water pump on from either a 69 or 70 Mustang that put the water neck on the bottom side on the driver's side. That took care of the water neck problem. But on, with the Coyote engine, you need a good sized radiator, and then you need opposite, water necks. So people have told me that like the 429 Ford is compatible, like that works. So that'll have to be looked at and processed as we go through it. Um, but I think everything else, I mean, a lot of this is coming along really nice. That low car shifter, that's going to work really well. We have the I did steering column. Um, still have to do a test fit with that with the headers, but I don't want to put the headers in place until I know that the transmission is going to be in place. There's, again, I've said it before, sequence is scored. Whenever you're doing these things, you have to have a process. You have to have a step by step. So I want to make sure everything is going to work and fit together, of course. And then, as I've said, everything comes out, and then we start going through the process of finishing up any body work that needs to be done, prepping the underside, undercoating, sealing, all the things that are going to happen later on. But right now, it's feeling pretty good as far as how I'm resolving, or getting these things figured out. So, anyway, I hope you're enjoying the videos, because I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to share everything I can in the process so that everybody can benefit from that. Um, Otherwise, I will say that I recently had somebody um, they offered me a car. They offered me another car, and I don't know whether I'm interested in it or not. Somebody has um, a friend of mine, actually from high school, has a '69 Mach 1 that he's talking about selling, and it's a it's an oddball. It's an oddball '69 Mach 1. Like, the people that ordered it out in California, they ordered it without the Mach 1 stripes on it. And also, the hood is not painted like it would normally be painted. Now, I don't know if that was part of the package or not, but it has the hood scoop and then a narrow black stripe running down the middle of the hood. But I was kind of shocked that it didn't have the Mach 1 striping on it. And the car also has a very odd dash in the car. So your typical Mach 1 has your cluster, you've got a speedometer, and you may have a tachometer and stuff like that. This thing was built like an airplane. It has, I don't know how many gauges I counted, because I had a little video. Guys, my buddy sent me a video of the car, but there's like 14 gauges on the dash of this car, along with about 20 toggle switches. So it's literally set up like an airplane. And I was looking at the gauges, and like, you had a speedometer, tachometer. I saw like two different oil gauges, like an oil temperature gauge, an oil pressure gauge, a water temperature gauge, and like all these gauges mounted on a big panel on the dash of this car. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Um, but it's turned out that I guess the guy who owned it was a pilot in the Navy, and he wanted to make it look like an airplane. And so it does, but it's not nice. It's the dash pad's missing, and it has this great big black panel with all these gauges spread across the dash, and it also has some other things that would need addressed. Um, and I'm passively looking at this car, because if it was something that I would get, it would probably be something I would flip. Like, I wouldn't want to keep it. First of all, it's the factory color is candy apple red, and I'm not really a fan of red, so I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to paint it some other color. And then on the side of the car, it actually has the door guards that they pop riveted on back in the '60s and '70s. So it has a ugly strip on the side of the car that just messes with it. The problem is, when you start looking at those and you go, oh, those need to come off. There's holes left behind. And so now you have to think, okay, if I'm going to paint this car, I got to repaint the whole car. You can't just take those off and fix those little holes and just touch them up. You have to match the paint and everything. And so it's just an odd car. And I don't know that I want to get involved with it, but I'm looking at it just because. So okay, Dave Tyson, some of the best videos on this swap. Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. And I've been looking. I try to look at what other people are doing, and like I was saying, they don't give you all this information, or they make it like a TV show where it's just, here, we got this done, let's fire it up, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair to anybody that they don't cover all the bases. And it's like, here's another thing that I'm thinking about doing. And I've talked with the owner about this too. The guy, Bad Harry, who's been on my live streams before, he's built that '68 fastback with the Coyote engine in it, and he came up with a system for an electric parking brake. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So whether we use it on this car or not, I've started gathering up the parts, because I feel like I'll probably put that on maybe on my Mach 1 if it doesn't get used, on this car. And it's a really simple type of system, and it's a push button thing that allows you to run actuators that put on the parking brakes, which also acts as sort of an anti-theft. You don't think about all this all the time. And it's like, yeah, you can set a parking brake on a car, but that's just a release that you could pull, from inside the car if you get into it. But this system uses electric and actuators, where you can lock down, the rear axle. Not that would necessarily stop somebody completely, but it may act as a deterrent. So I'm looking into that. I've already started buying up components for that. And like I said, if it doesn't get used on this car, I will use it in the future build. But I would like to have everything on hand and maybe do some experiment with it just to show what it does, just in case anybody else may be interested in it. It's really kind of a neat setup. James, my Mustang Garage, good evening. I forgot time and day change. Yeah, the time change that's always a struggle. I'm glad you're here. It's difficult. Anytime we do the time change, I don't like it either way. I hope we just can stay on this one. And also, if you haven't already seen videos by James, he has his channel out, My Mustang Garage. He's building that '67 convertible that I went up and helped him with. So he's been putting out good videos with good information. So Rick says, will you build your Mach 1 before or after the basket case Camaro? That's a good question. I don't have a good answer, because I've also mixed in the Falcon. You got to remember, I dragged that Falcon home too. I don't know, because the Camaro, if I do it, all I'm going to do is finish the sheet metal. I don't know that I even want to put it in primer. I would probably just finish the sheet metal work and just sell it as a rolling, chassis, rolling, shell. I don't feel like I want to put it all together and complete that car. It just isn't really in my wheelhouse right now. So that's, I've been doing so much Mustang stuff that the Camaro is just keep getting pushed to the side. I hate that it's sitting outside under a tarp right now. I really do. And I have those new quarters and stuff for it that I got. But, this car, on the lift is a priority, and that's what I'm working on. So who knows? We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just roll it in here on a weekend or something and try to finish up putting the quarters right on the right way and a roof and just kind of button things up. Maybe. I don't know yet. That's a good question though. Richard says, "Don't be fooled, Barry. We'll be buying that Mach 1." Oh, uh, it's tempting. The problem is the price is too high. That's the real problem. The car overall is in great shape. It really, really is. But he wants too much for it. And I have to think about it because if I were even to get the car, it would have to be um, at the right price because for me to get it, I have to fix things. Like that dash would have to go. And who knows what they did to put that dash in the car? Like, did they chop up the original wiring harness? What's connected to what? All that stuff. Um, so that's a big negative, is the way I look at it. It also has odd seats in it. The factory Mach 1 seats are not there. So would have to come up with a different set of seats. Um, Other things have been added to it, like not that it's a bad thing. It's got a wing on a deck lid, but it didn't come with a wing. I have the Marty report, and it didn't have a wing. Not that it hurts it, and not that I would want to be the purist on this thing. But for me, what I would rather do if I were to get that car would be to clean up the dash, um, find the right set of seats for it, get rid of the junk that's on the side of the car, the bump strips, repaint. I probably have to repaint the car, to be honest, and paint the hood the right way. I know it says on the Marty report, it has a variant, which was like the little narrow strip, but it doesn't look right. A Mach 1 needs to have that wide, blacked out hood. And then I would want to put the stripes on it. Even though the factory says it didn't come with them, I would want to put those on it because it doesn't look right. It's a Mach 1. It should have the stripes on it. So just pros and cons of that. So it would have to be at the absolute right price for me to even think about it. Tom Anziano, I installed a 4.6 double overhead cam Cobra engine in an 87 GT back in 96. Before much information was available on these swaps, I added a Vortex supercharger. The electrical part was most difficult to figure out. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you did it back then? There was no information. People weren't even thinking about doing stuff like that. So, I mean, they were, but it wasn't common. James, I think your permanent niche turned out to be Mustang Garage or Mustangs. Yes. Yeah, I think so too. And that's probably all I'll really end up doing moving forward. If I do anything else, it'd be kind of, just side gigs. But right now, that's probably all I'm going to be doing. Rick says, I found a 67 Camaro model I built at my grandparents while visiting in Florida in the early 80s. Still have it. Well, that's cool. I still have some models that I built when I was a kid, like in the 70s. Yeah, I still have some of those. They're not very good, but James says, Mr. Mikey, your missus is going to have a new living room and kitchen set if you get another car. Just saying. Yeah. Nope. James' wife says, when I finish the 67 Mustang, she wants the next project to be a 93 Mustang convertible for her. There you go. That's a good build. That'd be a good build. Those little Fox bodies, they're really cool little cars. I recommend it. Build it. And you're making good progress on your car, and I can see it, coming together. And I do appreciate you covering details. Like I posted earlier in your video, that little bracket set up on the back of the convertible. I had forgotten all about that stuff. So it's good that you're pointing that stuff out. Really good. Okay. So we've been at this for an hour, and I've covered some ground here. That's probably where we're going to end up being at the end of this session. Um, like I said, there's a lot more to do to show as I'm progressing through the fastback build, and I want to cover all that stuff. And like I had said, I'm making notes and list of things that will need to be addressed, and I feel like that's going to be beneficial for a lot of people. So I think that's going to be it for tonight. We got 43 people watching, which is good, and I'll probably continue to do this on Sunday nights, as I said. We'll do this again next Monday or next Sunday. Sorry, next Sunday at 7. And who knows? Maybe we'll have more people show up. Maybe we'll have some more stuff to talk about. But that's probably going to be it for tonight. So I want to thank you all for being here. And if you would, as you're watching my videos, leave comments and thumbs up. All that stuff helps the algorithm that Delta has. I mean, Delta that YouTube has, and maybe it'll help others, watch more of these videos. But that's going to be it for tonight's show. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.